Hey, everybody, welcome back. Hope you're having an amazing day. The weather here has been beautiful, and I'm hoping to get back outside again soon. I've just been so busy doing other stuff. I really haven't had a chance to get out there and film, but I did manage to take some pictures of the sunset earlier, and I'm going to post that in one of my Facebook posts, and hopefully you all can enjoy. And might even put a poll in there as well, just to ask some more questions of everybody and get to know you all better. But aside from that, I'm going to dive into tonight's topic, and that is men are done. We've checked out. Apparently, some of the articles I was reading earlier today were kind of talking about what's going on with Western men and what the disconnect is with us. And I thought I'd jump in and kind of give my own 2 cents on it. One thing you have to understand is most of the women that are actually asking this question, because this isn't really men just walking around making this statement, it's for the most part women asking this question: where are all the good men going? Where are they at? We can't find them. They're not on the dating apps. They're not. They don't seem to be anywhere that we can locate them. One of the major places I would say is they're probably at home minding their business, trying to build their life, trying to maintain a level of personal peace. Those are probably some things that if you're looking for a good man, that's probably where you'll find them, but not easily. The reason why I would say, if I'm going to add into this topic, why men have checked out, I'd say for most of us, we've noticed what hookup culture has done to our society, to our culture, to marriage, to the government being involved in everything, and we've realized that it is pretty much a no-win scenario. The best way to play that game is simply not to play. And a hard learned lesson, because many of the men that have now pulled away from this have learned the hard way by getting screwed over and over and over again. Now, I'm not asking anybody to feel sorry for anybody or have an emotional knee jerk reaction to this. I'm just the messenger. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm reporting the facts here. That this is genuinely what men have experienced over time. And realistically, honestly, think about for women that are watching this, think about this from the man's point of view. If you're doing something over and over again and you keep getting screwed over with it, why would you continue doing it? See, in one of the other videos, I talked about the effects of basically progressive feminism and how the view eventually changed from women having equal opportunities ultimately to women being just like men, and then ultimately women emulating the worst type of men, the ones that were womenizers, the ones that were running around engaging in all sorts of activities that were just, basically destroying families, destroying the community, the worst version of themselves. And you decided somewhere along the way that that was what you wanted to be like. Now, I realize there are women out there that are out there that probably aren't like that to some degree. But for the most part, a lot of the hookup culture, it just has created women that have become like this. So hang on a sec. But if women have been created to they've kind of been encouraged and sort of conditioned to end up this way, then men are just jumping ship on it because family court doesn't treat men well. When the divorce happens, women are being encouraged to con men into marriage so they can get as much out of it as they can and then leave with as much as they can. And I'm not saying every woman's doing that, but you have to realize that the men that are on the receiving end of this are just running for the hills. And especially with what most women's preferences are, when you do research on that, most women seem to be interested in the top tier men. They seem to be interested in guys that are generally at least 6 foot or over, if they can find them. Guys that look in any way decent, if they can find them, with a certain level of attractiveness to them. And guys that are financially stable beyond a certain point, usually 6 figures and above, or they've got quite a bit of money stored away, or they're just really, really stable guys. And they definitely generally tend to avoid guys that have, obviously problems with alcohol, drugs. A lot of them try to avoid guys, I guess, that smoke and other things like that. And but even the guys that fall into those categories that can mark most of those boxes, even we would want to avoid most of the women that are out there, just simply because we don't want to go through the headache of dealing with all of that. And granted, if there are good women out there, the problem is most of them are not challenging the really terrible narrative that's out there that is being pushed by the feminist agenda, unfortunately, that has gone completely out of control. It's not about equal opportunity anymore. They don't want, they really don't want a a system where it's based upon simply what you do. They don't want a meritocracy. They want something that is, for the most part, privileges when it suits them. So they would like to default to being traditional when it suits them, to say, I don't need no man and I can pay for my own stuff, but also buy me dinner. Well, if you're leading with, I don't need no man and I can pay for everything, then you don't turn around and say, okay, well, I would like to now completely flip the script, go completely back to being traditional conservative. And I want you to do all these things as if I'm a woman that's completely opposite from what I am. You can't really do that. If you're going to be a feminist, you really can't say, buy me dinner. It's not really going to work. Not for most men. And most men are going to lean towards buying dinner for somebody that they could see a potential future with, not a, and just to clarify, most of the guys that I know of that have any type of a relationship or marriage that's working, fairly well, like it's obvious that it's working fairly well, and there's not too much hidden there. Most of those people, most of those guys, they're it is somewhat like a partnership. They're both working on things together, but they're working on a relationship together. They go on dates, they build connection, they build romance. They're able to work on projects together. They continue to date each other even after they've been married for years, or even after they've been in a long-term relationship for years. They continue to do that. And one major component of that is, it's not him telling her, hey, you can't be on social media and posting half naked pics of yourself, or posting pics trying to get all this attention and validation from men. It's not him telling her, hey, you can't go on girls trips as if you are a single woman. She realizes that type of behavior is acting like you're single and is going to damage any type of a committed, serious relationship. So she simply doesn't do it. And to certain, in many ways too, he's not doing that either. And they're transparent with each other. They're not hiding their passwords from their computers and cell phones from each other and being sneaky about it and then snapping at each other if one of them picks up the other one's device. They're not doing that. There's a level of trust and commitment and connection being built there. And then, unfortunately, out there on social media and in other places where they're talking about relationships, unfortunately, from the, from a feminist point of view, it's, I demand blind trust. I demand that you give me everything that I want, but also no, you can't look at my phone, and I get to talk to whoever I want, and I'm not really on board with you because I've got other guys over here that I'm talking to that I'm prepared to jump ship with them the minute your ship hits a storm. Then, God forbid you go through a health issue and something happens and the card gets declined a couple of times because you're fighting for your life for some sort of health issue. They're gone. They're gone. They want to divorce you. They want to leave with cash and prizes, and they want to run. So unfortunately, the women that have done that have really messed up everything for any woman that doesn't want to do that. That's the unfortunate truth. If you're a woman that doesn't want to do that, you've got so many women running around that have wanted to do that, that have done this sort of thing, that have engaged in this type of behavior. To some degree, they pretty much possibly ruined it for you permanently. Holding that in check is a major thing towards going back in the right direction, because the right direction is people being able to build relationships together where they can trust each other, assuming that's what you even want. The reason why I'm saying that men are done is most of them are just like, it's not worth the hassle. It's not worth risking my peace. So if you are a woman watching this and you're wondering, okay, where are the good men at? You have to realize that if you're going to get to know a good guy, you have to cut out the people in your life that are running around living a single life perpetually and have no intention of stopping. Hanging out with divorced single mothers. If you're a woman that's looking for a guy, you're hanging out with divorced single mothers. They want to get drunk and hit the club and keep acting like they're still 22 when they're, 45. That's not what you should be doing. If you want to find a good guy, you're going to have to find a way to basically spend time. You're going to have to revert to something where you're going to be able to build a connection with somebody on a level that is much, much deeper than hedonism, materialism, spending quiet time together, learning how to do simple things like go on romantic dates, take walks, and do things that are actually going to build something deeper, and then keep going from there and learning how to build and carve out a life together. Because at some point, and I think this is a major, major thing when it comes to most of the modern attitude towards everything, is everybody's acting as if one day they're not going to get old. It kind of feels that way. It kind of feels like everybody's acting like age is never going to catch up with you, and that you can completely perpetually party and act like you don't need anybody for the rest of your life. And one day it is going to hit every single one of us in the face. So we better either be prepared for it or we're going to get completely blindsided by it. At some point, the reality that it's all going to end. And also, before that happens, if you're lucky enough to live to old age, and I say that because there's so many people that have never been lucky enough to live to old age. If you are lucky enough to live to old age, you will find out that most of the things that you worried about in your youth never really mattered. And that's a very, very interesting viewpoint to take into consideration when you are thinking about relationships. You have to think about what's going to matter to you when you get older. That will change your view and perspective on it. And that's for the men and the women watching this. Just an idea to throw out there. I don't know what your take might be on that particular stance, but for me, I think that's a major, major thing. Think about what you're going to want when you're older and apply it to now, if you're even going to consider a relationship. And for the men that have completely checked out women, there are going to be some of us that we're never coming back. Like, I will say this right now, I will never advocate for any man to get married under the Western system right now. And I recommend that every single person that's going to get involved in a relationship, check your local laws and ordinances when it comes to how long you can live together, dating, just pretty much everything that's going to happen should you get really heavily entangled with somebody, because you don't know with the type of chameleons that are hanging around out there what you might get, because they're very sneaky. They come in presenting one way and then they end up turning around and being a completely different way. And sure, you start to unravel it, but it just gets crazier and crazier. As soon as we figure out ways to identify even more red flags and unravel stuff, a lot of the people that are those types of chameleons come in and they figured out a new way to dupe you and trick you. So that's why, and add it to the reasons why men have checked out, but also even women. Basically, any of us that are sane enough to recognize that hookup culture is a giant mess and you can't be in it and ever have any peace or happiness. Any of us that are on board with that, this is your place. This channel right here. So anyway, that's pretty much it for tonight, and I look forward to talking to you all again soon. Make sure and comment. I definitely love hearing what you think about the videos. And make sure to like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell because I got more stuff coming your way. And I look forward to talking to everybody again soon. Have a great night.